I just want you to know I realize I have no purple shirts. I don't understand. You guys have seen how many shirts I have. I have no purple shirts. Can we talk about this for a second? What is that about? Anywho, hi. So you guys, do you know why we're doing this today? Does anybody know? So 1908, New York City, 15,000 women marched to raise awareness for equal pay and because they wanted to vote. Here we are all these years later, you guys. And I would like to know for you, where do you still see the gap in your own life? Like, where do you see the gap between all those women marching in 1908, right? Where do you see the gap for yourself? What do you see as something that you would like to achieve for women or be participatory in for women inside of that gap? Like, what gap are you still seeing? So for me, you guys know my life's work, right, is to put more money in the hands of more women. And I always talk about shoes and bags are wonderful. That's lovely, especially if you appreciate the beauty and the art and the eye of the people who created them, right? That's so wonderful. But that money is also the most powerful tool we have access to today. And that's why I want it in the hands of more women. Because when it's in our hands, we do really cool things with it, right? We make sure local businesses are supported. You could deal with clean water. You can deal with food. You can look at our political system. You can look at our war machines, right? Our industrial complex around war and around prison. And so when we talk about where the gap is for me, you guys know I really still see it financially. I see that there's still a big gap between the amount of money that women actually accrue throughout their lives, but also what they're paid and then how they spend it. And then the other thing, the reason I started my business, you guys, or the reason I teach you guys how to do business and how to look at business and how to run your businesses is because in my corporate career, I was always the only woman in the room, right? Except for sometimes the head of HR. The head of HR was usually a woman. But outside of that, you guys, it was me and a bunch of tech dudes. And they were awesome and they were fun. And I have 5 brothers, so I could hang really well. But I was always the only woman in the room deciding on company culture, deciding on our financial forecasts, looking at the costs of salaries across the board and who should we hire next and why and what's that going to do to the project. And when I would look around and only see men, for me, it was like, what the hell's going on here? Why are there not more women at this table with me? This is not rocket science. And keep in mind, I didn't go to business school. I have like street cred. Like everything I learned by doing. Everything I learned because, you know, I'd be thrown into a venture capitalist meeting and have to pitch for money, or I'd be thrown into running a team I didn't know how to run yet and I'd have to learn how to manage. All of that was street cred learning, but none of it was rocket science. None of it was some proprietary esoteric learning that I only had access to. Like, that's crazy. And it's why I love to teach it to you guys, because I know if you can understand how to run a business with profit in mind, if you can learn how to look at your business strategically and go, okay, we actually don't need that. That's pretty. It's fluffy, but we don't need that. That's why I say to you guys, don't worry about your website. Go find your next client. Don't worry about what your Instagram looks like. Get the message out. Right? Don't worry about the pretty, worry about the content, worry about where the next revenue stream is coming from, because that's how your business will survive. Not because it's like, money, not because of that. It's because you want to stay in business so you can continue to hire great people and you can support your family and you can send your kids to the classes you want to send them to and support those businesses. And also because you probably have causes that matter to you. So when I look out on International Women's Day today and I look at the gap I see, you guys, it's still a gap. And we got to fill it. And as your business mentor, one of the things I want to talk to you about is treating your business like it's a hobby. I want to talk about how you're worried about how other people perceive your business versus how well the business is actually doing. I want to talk about who you're hiring and why. Did you guys know the other day we were joking around, we realized I'm the only person who's white on my team. I didn't know that. I'm very proud of it, right? I didn't do it like, let me have a I didn't do it for that reason. I did it because I was hiring the most talented people and I was super excited about it. I was blown away. That was amazing. I was so happy to learn that. Who are you hiring? What difference is it making for them? What are they learning just by being around you? Right? I get so excited when the video editor calls me. She's like, Sarah, I'm like this every time you talk. I'm like, that's awesome. Learn it. Go, run. That makes me so happy. Or when the podcast editor is like, Sarah, this one was awesome. I just want you to know I just did this and this and this because of what you said. Oh my gosh, how can life get any more fulfilling, right? You guys have the same thing going on in your businesses. The way that you talk about your business, the way you talk about your passions, the way you talk about your next project, the way that you introduce people to what you do. All of that should be in alignment to actually support your business. All of this way of being said, you guys, when I look out and see the gap, this is what I see for you. Yeah, so I hope that's landing for you guys. Don't treat your business like a hobby, okay? And I'm not going to say to you, look at your business as if you were a man. I don't like that idea. But if there's something of value for you to look at, if you put that lens on your business, like if you were say, okay, if I was a man, I looked at it this way, what would I see? I'm fine with that, but it's not exclusive to men. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it's not. And like I always say about our beautiful senators who I love, I always say this about our female senators, like, you don't have to turn into a man, right? You can see that male energy, like just pushing through that. You don't have to do that. But if there is listen, there's value to like the more masculine perspective of things, right? I always talk about how women, we have more connective tissue between our two hemispheres, right? That's why we can do so many things. So these men who don't have that, they can literally concentrate only on one thing at a time. There's value in that. And that's a skill and a discipline, my monthly students, right? That's a discipline and a skill we can practice to stay focused and to kind of dive in and work on the one thing at a time. And that sort of perspective can really be helpful. And I'd like for there to be a day soon where that isn't masculine and feminine. That's just like the way to do things. We pull at the more masculine and feminine traits, right? Traditionally, those traits that have been assigned to these genders. And we start to kind of knock that around a little bit and pull at whatever traits actually work and support us the most and stop labeling them. But I want to know what you think of this. I want to know where you're seeing that you could view your own business differently. Given that it's International Women's Day today, I want you to look at what skills you need to develop. Just be super straight with yourself. Like, you look at it and you go, you know, I do treat it like a hobby. You know what? I am more worried about my Instagram stats than I am about how many people I helped today. Like, just be honest, it's cool. Like, you know, you're in a safe space here. We're never going to judge you here. But I want to give you like permission and this platform to go just investigate that. Just go look at that and be like, oh my gosh, I did that. Okay, cool. I'm glad I know that. So now I can go address it, right? Just moving forward, not to be mean, right? Or like critiquing. So the next thing I want to do is give you guys a personal challenge today. So I promised you a personal story in the email that went out this morning. Okay, I know. So many of you guys were like, I had several emails and even, I think it was one person in my sprint was like, can you tell us about your history, please? So I will at some point. I think we're going to have a live event soon, you guys. We have to do Game On Girlfriend live, like, but in person. I know we did the live conference in January, but it's not the same as hugging or like having a retreat and eating meals together and hanging out. We got to do it. I don't know when, but it's coming, I swear. As soon as I get the red light, as soon as I get the green light, the purple light, as soon as I get the green light, we'll get that planned, I swear. But in the meantime, for today, what I want to challenge you to do is really reach out to a woman and let her know how her example has affected you. And the reason this is important to me, personal story, like I promised, the reason this is important to me is because for those of you that don't know, I was raised in a very traditional Mormon background. And yes, if you have questions about the Mormon murders, I will be happy to answer them. I was a very, very devout Mormon. I was very good. I know all of the nuances and all of the laws and all of the rules and all of the history. I'd be happy to answer it. I think it's just an incredible story. And yes, we did know the family of some of those victims, and Holiday was the town next to where I was raised, as where my cousins were raised, actually. So yes, we could talk about the Mormon murders, but another time. So being raised in that culture and in that environment with 5 brothers, okay, I had 3 older brothers, 2 younger brothers. Value on education, or value on women in general, was put on, at least in my family. Again, I don't want to generalize for the entire Mormon population. I can't do that, right? I can just share from my experience. And it was that education was not valued. And we were watching the Mormon murders with my son, who is 14 at the moment, and my husband's all excited about where he's going to school and planning all that out. And I was like, yeah, if we were raised there, you would be talking about where you're going on your mission, not where you're going to school. And we just had this conversation about how education just wasn't, the emphasis just wasn't put on it, and especially for women. When I graduated from UCLA, which was awesome. I graduated with honors, you guys. I was so proud. I was the first woman in my family to have a college degree. Now, keep in mind, I have 65 cousins. My mom has 8 brothers and sisters. Several of them got married and had 8 children, so you could see where the math goes there. Anyway, so inside of this world, I'll never forget, I sent out my college graduation announcement letters, you know, like you do. And one of my mom's sisters called me and said, Sarah, you're the first woman to graduate from college in our family. And I was stunned. I didn't know that. I think there's 7 of us now, which I'm really happy about. And I'll tell you, every single one of them but one, whom I just don't have a very close relationship with, but they've all called me and said, if you hadn't done it, I don't think I would have either. Listen, you don't know who's watching. You don't know who's watching. And a lot of the times the people you're watching don't know about you and the impact it's having on you. And I share that personal story because I didn't graduate from college to be like, first woman. I just graduated from college. I really wanted to. My stepmom, who's from Rochester, was like, you're going to college. I was like, okay, right. So awesome. It's why I'm on the East Coast is because of her. You guys know she passed away a few years ago from lung cancer, and I shared that pretty openly. She was such an influence on my life. And she knows that. She knows that she's the reason I'm the first one to graduate, right? So it just keeps snowballing, you guys. And so what I want you to do, here's your personal challenge for today, okay? Call or text. I promised you guys I'd give you a personal challenge today. Call or text a woman who's been an influence in your life. And this can be a colleague, it can be a friend, it could be someone you just watch online who doesn't even know you exist. I don't care. It could be your aunt, it could be a grandma, it could be your own mother, it could be a cousin. Please take that time today, because for me, that's what International Women's Day is really about, right? I mean, it really is. You know, I've been hired to speak, I think 2 times today I'm going to be speaking, right, about International Women's Day. I'm so excited. And what I'm going to be talking about in those conversations, you guys, is that your conversations matter. Now, I'll be talking to those corporations in light of mansplaining, right? And microaggressions against women, and that really strange phenomenon in corporate America where a woman says something in a meeting and 5 minutes later a man says it and everybody acts like it's the first time somebody said it. So I'm going to be talking about it inside of those conversations, right? But for you and me on Women's Day right now, this is about the conversations you have with other women. And I'm out to bust this BS myth that working with women is messy and women gossip. Please stop playing into that stereotype. It's such crap. And we do not, at least not all of us. And you can be part of that change too. Don't participate in that. Gossip brings down entire institutions. And sometimes, like the Mormon murders, gossip kills people. Don't do that anymore. Let's flip the powerful conversations you're having to be those of acknowledgement, of appreciation, and of sisterhood. Does that make sense? Gay, straight, don't care. We are all in female bodies, right? And there's stuff from out there that comes with that. Let's break that up. And one of the ways I'm going to challenge you to do that right now is to change the conversations you have today. And I want you to reach out to women who have made a difference for you and let them know. I'll tell you guys, I don't know how this works. Because, you know, sometimes I can get woo-woo, but I'm not that woo-woo. I don't know how it works, but every single time I'm feeling sad, or let's say I'm struggling with my kids, or I'm struggling with my husband, or something happens with my family, my extended family, or something like that happens, I'll get a thank you note from a client or a student. And I cannot tell you how that just flips a day around. It means so much. And you know that. You've been on the receiving end of that, where you're just doing what you know to do. You're just doing your thing. You're just going about your day. And somebody says, thank you, or I saw that. It changes everything. And on International Women's Day, I think it's our responsibility to make sure we're doing that for other women. So I promise you, I'm picking 3 today. 2 of my emails have already gone out. I have 1 more to go. Okay. And the reason I'm emailing is because they're on the West Coast. And so it's early for them and I didn't want to call them or text them yet. And I have kind of a busy day. So it's not a cop out. The next one is a phone call. Let's say thank you to each other. Let's acknowledge each other. Let's start to create this society that we want to see for women. And that's going to start with us. And so inside of this idea that our lives are built out of conversations, remember I told you the corporate conversations I'm having today, we're having this conversation. The reason that matters, you guys, I'm going to say something that's a little bit existential, sort of, but I want you to sit with it for a minute. And that is the truth, I'm actually calling it that, the truth that our lives are made up of the day-to-day conversations that we have. Just stay with me for a second. Your entire life is created by the conversations you're having or not having, right? So the conversations you're having with yourself in the shower, yes, those count because you're listening, right? The conversations you have with your significant other, with your colleagues, with your friends, with your family, with your neighbors, with your community, with your religious institutions. Those conversations make up your life. And so, in the coaching industry, which I'm in a fight with right now, as you know, there's the whole change your mindset, change your life, sort of, right? Change your conversations, change your life. Now, some of that's mindset, sure. Like I'm changing your mindset now about what it is to be a woman today. To be a woman today, you need to be lifting up other women. That's part of our jobs right now. Our jobs as women right now, especially after the Me Too movement, after the social uproar we saw last spring, this is our job, you guys, because we're the ones holding it, right? We're the shock absorbers of society. We know this. So we're the ones who are going to have to handle this for now. It might change soon, but right now it's at our feet. And we can choose what to do with it. And if we start to change these conversations from, oh my God, my boss is such a boom, right? To hurt people. I can't imagine what she had to go through to get to that position. How can I let her know that's not the reality anymore? How can I be her ally and help her relax and let her see that she's safe now? Big difference, right? You can call that mindset. I call it conversations. The conversations you're having in your head, right, which is mindset, and then what you actually share. And this part's more important. Because what you share out there has the possibility to alter how other people view their own lives. Like I said, the thank you notes. It alters how someone else views their life that day. And that's the power you have to just say thank you. Or I see you. I know what you're going through. What was it like for you? How can I support you? Different way to go through life. And it is true, you guys, with the power of social media, which I also fight with regularly, but with that power, you don't know who's watching, right? I always tell you guys when you do your heartfelt posts or you put up something on Instagram, you're like, nobody liked it. You don't know who read it. You don't. And you don't know the impact it had, and you have to trust that. And it's hard sometimes when everyone's looking at like stats, right? What are my likes? How many comments, right? That's not the value. That's not the value. The value is in the one, I don't care if it's one person whose life you alter. You may not know about that. And you've got to trust that. You had a reason to post that. You had something pulling at you to share about your business, your life, your work. Trust that. Today's the day to say something, right? Today's truly the day where you can say something and just acknowledge it, right? Again, because conversations make up our lives, right? So it's really a time to say, hey, it's International Women's Day. Wouldn't it be awesome if we had some female VPs to look up to? You don't have to start a fight. You don't have to be like, bad, wrong. You don't have to do that, but let's start talking about it, right? It's like when I share with you guys what happens to girls by second and third grade as they stop raising their hands. We need to talk about that. I'm not running around going, all teachers are bad. Absolutely not. But we're living inside of a society where that's been made okay. And the only way to unmake it okay is to talk about it, because conversations create the life we have. And that's something, how many of you have seen the Mormon murder thing? Just out of curiosity, because there's one point, and I won't give away the plot of the story because I remember it as a mystery and it's fascinating, so I won't ruin that for you. But there's one thing, I think it's the last episode, where someone, I won't even say who, where someone asks the question, if something is false, but everybody else validates it as true, is it true? And it's a fascinating question. right? Because if we look at our social contracts, they're true, they're real, because we all agree to it, because we all say so. We all say, this is a bracelet, right? We all agree on that. We all agree that this is a phone. We all agree on that. We all agree that racism is bad. And if you don't believe that, please don't be on this page, right? That's something we agree to. And before, we agreed that slavery was okay. You see what I'm saying? That social contract is created because everybody says it's true. But does that make it true? It's a fascinating idea. I promised you guys I'd get a little existential today, right? I didn't mean to take us down a crazy track, but it's really important to understand that the conversations about women are true because so many people have said they are, but can we change that? Can we alter that? And we know we can. The women can vote. Those 15,000 women who marched to New York City made it true that we could vote by talking about what was not okay anymore. Because it had been okay up until then, and now it's not, right? It had been okay not to be anti-racist. Now it's not. It had been okay to lay on top of a woman and just hope she doesn't, push back too hard. And then there was Me Too, right? Can you see how this is happening? This is why our voices matter. It's why I want you to make more money. Sure, I want you to have all the material stuff you want if that's what you're after, but it's more than that, isn't it? Right? It's so much deeper than that. It's about continuing to have your voice count and start to change what's true. It's a really interesting conversation. Anyway, so for those of you who haven't watched The Mormon Murders yet, check it out. I'd love to talk to you about it. Feel free to post. I'll totally answer all your questions, I swear. And for those of you that have seen Big Love on HBO, that was shot in my hometown. And because HBO is so close to reality, every time they do a show, people are like, how do they know, right? I kind of went back, I'm like, how many people had 15 brothers and sisters? I was like, shoot, there were a lot, right? So I'm like, how big was their house? How many moms were there? I don't know. It's so interesting. But so were those compounds that they display on Big Love. Those were real too, and we knew where they were, and we knew not to go there. But it's a really interesting phenomenon. So what's true there? Right? And then somebody talks about it and shares about it and writes a book. And suddenly the truth of that starts to shift for people. And they can see not only are people living inside that truth, but some people are starting to peek outside of the veil of it. Remember, I call it the veil of ignorance. I always talk about that and how we don't know about an experience until we've gone through it. And that all of us need to consistently pull at our own veils of ignorance. What do I not know? What do I not understand because I was born white? What do I not understand because I was born a man? What do I not understand because I was born in a different country? What do I not understand because I was born in this part of this country? And the more that we all pull at our own veils of ignorance, the more successful we'll be because we'll be able to talk to more people and communicate effectively. And we know the conversations create your life. So today, beautiful women, please today reach out to the women who have impacted you, who have inspired you, who've taught you something, who've made a difference for you in any way. Please go let them know. Let's lift up as many women as we can today. All right? I hope you guys are game. I love you to pieces. Have a wonderful day. Go be an awesome woman, and I will see you guys next Monday. Bye, everyone.